WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
The great thing about working from home is that you do have a lot more control in your life than you would, say, if you were working in a regular environment. And when Dennis and I started this podcast, we were obviously working from home. It was in the height of the pandemic, and a lot of things that we have learned throughout the years, it was natural for us to be able to incorporate. But we realized that there are a lot of people who are in different situations. Some of you out there are having to work from home for the very first time, or you're just transitioning that into your life. A lot of the questions that we get from time to time, whether they be from colleagues or people who are listening to the podcast, are just about what work from home is like, and how we've done it for so long. How do we incorporate it into our lives? And so, Dennis, I know this is a topic that you get asked about every now and again too.
I do, and we've got 5 questions that came in from listeners. We had lots of questions, but we took the 5 that were kind of more focused on the work from home piece, and so we thought we'd just go through those questions today and tell you what they're asking and see if we've got answers. Some of them we may say we don't have an answer.
Yeah.
So number 1 was, how do you maintain a work-life balance when your home is in your office? That's a tough one. For me, it's easy because it's just my wife and I and some dogs. So it's not, I don't have kids and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little easier to make that break.
You don't have any kids at home.
Correct. I have ones that are grown and outside that will ping me every once in a while, but not they're not in the house. So for me, the big thing was you had to create a space that was the office, and that when the doors closed, I knew I was in the office. If it's open, then people could come in and go and that kind of thing. And so it's just kind of creating that piece. That's the first thing. The second one for me is just, you got to have a schedule, and you kind of work that schedule. And it's not your typical 8 to 5 approach, because I'll put in times where I'm going to go outside and walk, or I'm going to go do some personal things. But you try to follow that schedule throughout the day so that you get in the, whatever your dedicated hours of work are going to be throughout that time span, but also give you that flexibility. And I think that's that work-life balance that allows me to go do some exercising maybe from 3 to 5, or to go take a walk from 10 to 11, or make it so that if I am walking, maybe I have my headsets in and I know it's a call that I don't have to be in person, but I can actually just talk as I walk and make notes. And just trying to find that balance. For me, it's been the best thing. If you told me that I had to go back to a corporate office 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, it'd be like putting me in jail. And so I understand why lots of people are saying, hey, I'm not going to, and lots of companies are telling you they got to come back. I saw one the other day that they're even going to, I think it was Price Waterhouse, they're going to track the employees. It's like, oh my God, that's like overkill. But if that's how they think they got to do it, good for them. I think it's going to limit the number of people that are going to want to work there, because for me, that would be like Big Brother watching. And if you can't trust me to do my work, then don't be watching where I'm at.
And I would imagine for people out there, that is a deal breaker. The economy, the world, and work is changing. And so, the idea of working from home maybe 15 years ago was an unusual thing. There were certainly people who did it, but it was not the norm. The work-life balance thing, Dennis, a lot of the things that you had mentioned, I'm going to echo back. Yeah, I have a separate office, and I realize that not every listener out there can have a separate office. Sometimes you have to use your bedroom. I would say keep that dedicated workspace in a way that when you're in that workspace, that is your work time. And that is something that's going to be important for you. And you have to have that little discipline. On Saturdays, I've caught myself sometimes coming into my office and doing a little bit of work. The work-life balance aspect of it's not something that I've actually perfected. I'm not necessarily good at it, because to Dennis's point, 8 to 5 is kind of like the established norm, if you will. But there are plenty of times where I may be working from 7 to 3, or even like from 11 till 8. And these are all things, it's not a matter of time in the office. It's the amount of time that you have the ability to make best use of it. Listen, if you're fortunate enough to be able to work from home, You don't have a commute anymore. You don't have to go necessarily, though I do recommend you take your showers and get dressed and make the appropriate usual things that you should do from a hygienic perspective. But at the same time, it's very quick, right? You don't have to you don't have to iron a shirt or anything like that. These are all time savers that you need to take advantage of. And even if you feel like, hey, I'm maybe saving 45 minutes out of my life, take advantage of that. Use that to your advantage, however it is. Either work a little bit longer or take that time off. I think this is a good question. So let me ask, we'll go on to the next question here. And for some of you all out here, if you're running your business and if you are participating with the company, this is a really interesting one, Dennis. What do you think about companies that offer a 4-day work week instead of a traditional 5-day work week? That's an interesting thing I'd never really thought about for myself personally. What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, so I know I was looking on the internet when I saw this one. Back in 2018, about 20% of the companies offered that. Today, it's up around 45% are offering it in some form or fashion.
Wow.
And they say it's a growing trend. I was at a company back in Dallas way back when. We used to do it from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And so, you still got the same number of hours in. You just had, instead of an 8-hour day, it was a 10-hour day, Monday through Thursday. Or I think it was 9. We did 9. Monday through Thursday, and then we did a half day Friday, and then we had the afternoon off on Fridays. And then the following year, they did it 10-hour days with Friday off completely. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I mean, because one, you only had to drive to work 4 days instead of 5, and I was in Dallas fighting traffic. Yet also, you got there, and a lot of times getting started takes anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour to kind of get your day started. By the time you get up and go get coffee and get your desk organized and all that. So you only do that 4 times instead of 5. And it added more productivity in that time period I was in. And then on the personal side, then on Fridays, then it gave you that chance to do your running around or mowing or doctor's visits or any of that kind of stuff, so that when you hit the weekend, you truly had a fun time with your family and not just that piece. So I think it's a trend that people are going to be looking at. Some of the challenges you have to watch. I know in our case, we still had to have someone there on Fridays because the world we supported operated Monday through Friday. So there were some that had Mondays off. And so you kind of figured out a way to cover all of the 5 days that your customers needed, but you allowed the employees to have a 4-day work week. And again, it's kind of like the work at home thing. It's different. But if you think about it from your standpoint, it could make you more competitive if you're having a hard time hiring people or making it so that your people can be more flexible. Or if you have a hybrid model, then hey, 2 days you're in and 2 days you're at home working, and then they've got 3 days off. I think with automation, this article talked about the fact that with automation and more of this stuff coming, that you're going to see more free time for employees to do other things than besides just work the traditional 40-hour work week. So I think it's great. Benny, thoughts from your perspective?
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this one. I think that as I mentioned earlier, we're evolving and people are seeking better work-life balance and realizing that our life isn't revolved around the office. As a little bit of a secret on in my world, I've actually been I make the attempt, though I'm not necessarily successful at it, to actually do a 4-day work week, and I try to take the Fridays off. Right now I have all of my Friday afternoons blocked off, so I don't want to do the late afternoon meetings, and I try to avoid those. For the most part, I'm able to take control of the day, and if I can get a little bit extra time for myself, or at least be able to focus in on some projects that I'm personally connected to, I'm trying to do that. Eventually, I think that the ability to have a 4-day work week, and as long as we can get the same amount of work done and employers see the value of doing that, like you said, a 10-hour workday, sure, I have no problem doing that 4 days a week. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think, as a business owner or an employee, definitely do some research on this and share it with your organization. And each one's going to have a different approach because, again, the whole world is not on a 4-day work week. So you still have to cover, if you're in retail, you may be covering all 7 days. So you've got some different things you have to navigate with, but there's ways to make it where that employee has a 4-day work week. If you think about healthcare, they kind of work that way. A lot of them are 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on. It's all kinds of stuff. So it's taking those concepts and adjusting to fit how best works for your employees, but also how best works for your customers and their experience. So encourage you to look at that one. Next question was, are there any remote work trends or innovations that you're particularly excited about or think will become important in the future? So this is kind of that AI world, Benny. So I think, the person's asking, is there things that you and I are seeing AI related that we're using ourselves today that make us more productive?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that from my perspective, a little bit different in the fact that we actually sell and support products that are AI enhanced, or they're AI elements, or they're outright just AI that we're putting into companies. And so the things that I'm seeing, and the amazing things, Dennis, that are really, they're not the main industry pieces, but think of it this way. Think about if you work for a large organization, and in the past you've had to be able to ask somebody in HR, how much PTO do I have, right? Traditionally what you do is you maybe send an email to the person in HR, and maybe they get back to you the next day or two, right? And then they say, hey, here's the information, this is how much PTO you have. And then you send them, great, thank you, can you send me the form so I can do this? And then another couple of days goes by and they do that. In the world that I live in, AI does things like it could answer that question for you immediately. Just go into into a portal and be able to ask a question. Hey, what is this particular form I need for this particular account? And it will tell you. So the things that we're being able to see, and the way that AI is enhancing work is going to be tremendous. Personally, for me, I'll tell you, Dennis, I'm probably not a very good person to say which tools do I use AI, because I use so many of them. I have to play around with them, and I have to use that as a mainstay. But I will say that for me right now, from an AI perspective, I really like Claude. If you haven't used Claude, if you go to claude.ai, people may only be familiar with ChatGPT and what they can potentially do. But what I really enjoy, and I'm getting great utility from, is different platforms and different service providers, and just seeing how their different AI can interact and help me. They're all very different, and I think it's an exciting thing to do. How about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, mine's a little. I'm a little further behind on the AI than you are. But again, I'm always looking at ways to automate and those types of things. There's some tool. Mm-hmm. Scribe's my big friend now for training materials that we do. I love that one because it just makes something so much easier than doing all the copying and pasting and all that one. ChatGPT, definitely use that a lot for just editing words and the ways I'm going to write things and help me come up with ideas, and those are good ones. But also there's 2 or 3 different ones I'm using for kind of lead generation. There's one that sits on my website that lets me know kind of what's going on with my website and who's hitting it, that before I had no idea, and it gives me some insight. And then I've got some stuff tied to LinkedIn that help me do some networking and that kind of thing. So I think there's just lots of good things out there that can help make you more efficient. And get you out of the mundane and allow you to be more strategic is kind of where it's going, and what I'm doing with it from my home business.
This is all really exciting times, and I think that from what the future holds, I'd say keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, because there's so many new things that are going to be coming out. It's going to be exciting for these next few years. All right, Dennis, the next question. Have you found any particular habits or rituals that help you transition into and out of your work mode during the day? What do you do?
Oh, that's a good one. I have a routine down that, I start my day around 7 o'clock in the morning, and I get in, and that's when I do kind of all the things on my computer where I'm not interacting with people, because in my case, I'm in Central Time. So the East Coast might be there, but a lot of the West Coast, they're not even up yet. And so that allows me to get some of that busy work type stuff done that I need to do, and allows me to look at my KPIs and kind of where I'm at for the day. And then for me, I definitely take lunch. I try to get in some kind of exercise throughout the day somewhere. Just, if nothing else, it's just get up from the desk and move around, because it's real easy to sit here all day. And then I try to wrap up by 4 o'clock Central Time, so that doesn't mean I'm not going to meet after 4, but I try to block my calendars and all that kind of stuff so that I'm focused. And this applies to work at home as well as working in the office. I mean, having that calendar and scheduling your blocks of time effectively allow you to be more productive. And I think that's the key to my workday. Benny, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty early riser, so I'm usually up, and the first thing I like to do for me personally is I exercise every day. I take the weekend off, a Sunday off for a workout, but I get up, and whether I'm doing lifting weights or cardio, it's one of those two things. And then for me, my wife actually works from home too as well, and so we have the opportunity. We can spend a little time together. We talk about our days, and it's really nice. She has her own office, and I have my office here, but we can have lunch every day. And so the things that you talked about blocking certain times off, I keep that as a reoccurring in my calendar, so that this particular time is a time I don't get a surprise Calendly invite for a meeting, which happens a lot on those other unscheduled times. But these are the times that I view as kind of like my sacred time. This is where I'm going to read. I'm going to get caught up. But I spend a little bit of time, and I try to focus on knocking out all of my emails and getting that kind of work done. And then I look at the time during the day what I'm going to be doing, and hopefully I've done it time efficiently, but I'm not always perfect at it. So that's really kind of my thing.
All right, so question number 5 coming in was, how do you ensure that you're continuously learning and growing in your role while working remotely? That's a good one, because a lot of companies, you do a lot of training on site and those kind of things. Benny, how are you doing that?
For me personally, I participate in a lot of webinar training. One of the things that I probably overlooked, Dennis, when I was working for a company, are some of the free trainings and the opportunities they had me participate in that probably should have taken better advantage of, but because it was there, sometimes I looked at it as more of a burden. Today, I actually seek these things out. And so if I see a lot of training that comes up that might be on a particular topic or an area that is interesting or an angle, the beauty of it, there's no lack of training available in my world, at least, to be able to find and participate in. And I find it to be fun. I enjoy it a lot more. How about you, Dennis? What are you doing?
Same thing. There's a couple different groups that I'm in that are networking, but then they also provide kind of that continuing education types of things that allow you to expand your knowledge of what you're doing. And then in our case, some of the platforms that we use, they offer continuing education about what's going on in the industry and that kind of thing. And so, and the other one is just on the internet, there's all kinds of things. I listen to a lot of different podcasts and different things like that, of ways to kind of stay connected and understand what the trends are, and just read and ask ChatGPT what's going on in the world around these certain subjects and see what comes back up. And so, it's just that focus of making sure that you don't just stay status quo, but that you actually look at ways to do things a little different or try to learn from people around you and what's being offered. And it's really up to you. That's probably the biggest difference now compared to the old day, where you had a training department that would coordinate those classes or efforts, and you dreaded going. Now it's more on you to kind of figure out, okay, what it is you want to expand on or learn or do differently and know about different things. So the internet's made it, in my mind, much easier to do remote learning than having to be in an office. So those were the 5 questions that we had today that we wanted to share with our listeners. And periodically, we're going to do the question type of thing. Every 6 to 8 weeks, we'll throw in a podcast. It's just different kinds of questions that we hear from our listeners, and encourage you to send on to us questions that you have at our website, or you can, through LinkedIn, or you can email Benny or I that information, and we would love to hear from you.
Dennis, that's a great opportunity. If someone wants to be able to send some information to us, to you specifically, maybe they have questions about what it is that you do and how you might be able to help their company out, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so mine is dennisj, so DENNISJ at worksolution.com, and it's WORX Solution, no S at the end.com. Benny, how's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me at Benny, Benny, at velocitytechnology.group. Group. Our website is velocitytechnology.group as well. And for me and Dennis both, we welcome you all to find us on LinkedIn, reach out to us, and just make the connection. We're glad to answer any questions there for you, but certainly would love to be able to meet up with you and talk to you that way. This is a fun one, Dennis. I enjoy these questions, and we'd love to hear from you guys too as well. If you have any tips and tricks, we haven't got this all figured out ourselves. We're like you guys, and but we know that a couple gems of some advice come out there can make a difference in our work, and we'd appreciate to hear from you guys. So thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
You've been listening to WFH with Two Guys. We'll see you next time.